Her Journey to Healing, Reaching Women with a Desperate Cry is an 8-week Zoom seminar in which Kamala and Winston help women to start living their best life by rediscovering the image of God in their life. Kamala, a licensed marriage and family therapist, joins her husband of 16 years, an ordained pastor, to marry the clinical and the spiritual. You will begin living your best life filled with love, joy, and peace. Register at kwministries.net for this life-changing seminar.
So anxious resistant. Now remember there were 4 categories, right?
Mm-hmm.
So anxious resistant kids were on the opposite end of the spectrum. They didn't have a lot of self-confidence. They really clung to their caregivers, whether it's parents. When I say caregivers, I mean parents, grandparents, just old people in their lives who were, really part of that initial bonding experience. For these kids, they tended to have really exaggerated emotional reactions to stuff, but they also kept the distance from their peers. How did this translate into adulthood? That translated into anxious, preoccupied adults. Mm-hmm. And so they kind of formed less secure bonds with partners and feel really desperate for love and affection.
God is patient. God is kind. God is long-suffering. God never fails. God always hopes. God always trusts. God always perseveres. God doesn't envy. God doesn't boast. God doesn't seek his own, but is always seeking what's best for you. God rejoices in the truth.
That's right.
God doesn't define love. God demonstrates love. So, Sister Sands, you have participated in her journey to healing, reaching people with a desperate cry. How was it?
Awesome. Awesome. It was a period like no other. It proved to me the importance of unlearning to learn. It was very enlightening, very burden releasing, and accepting oneself the way one was created, the way God intended for one to live.
Good evening.
Welcome back to Monday Nights with KW.
It's Monday night, and I'm excited to be here with you, Kamala.
I'm always excited to be here. You know, we have done a lot of learning and growing over the time period that we've been together, and we've been so fortunate to talk with so many different people about their life's journey.
We have learned so much. Really excited about what we learned last week with Pastor Kimon Hines, how to turn our ideas into life. And throughout the night, we're going to be running. He has a challenge, a seminar, a coaching experience that he's doing, and we're going to be running that banner throughout the night under there.
There it goes.
Want for you to visit www.createyourofferchallenge.com, and we're going to be running that his Ideas to Life challenge. We're going to be running that throughout the night. But that was a really good experience last week.
It was, and you know, I got a lot of commentary from people after the fact.
Yeah.
People who had watched even after Monday night, just sharing, you know, how informative they found that, which is not uncommon, because a lot of the people that we talk to, we continue to get that feedback. Our guest tonight is one of those people that we got a lot of feedback about.
We had her back for that reason.
We had her back for that reason. And so, you know, we're going to be sharing yet again tonight, and we're just looking forward to journeying on.
Yes, I'm excited about that. What product do you want to highlight this week? Do you have anything in mind that you want to highlight this week?
You know, I think I want to highlight the Journey to Healing, the 8-week module, our seminar. Our 8-week seminar is available online. It's also available in person, but you got to reach out to us for that. but it's available online. It's an 8-week course that really empowers women specifically to learn who they are and whose they are, and to really turn around some of those narratives that we women um, hold for a long time. These ideas about not being good enough, not being valuable, not being worthy, and really looking at ourselves in God's image.
We were talking with some people this weekend, and we were talking about the lies that we have been told as children. You're not good enough. Um, you're just like your parent, whether it's the mother disliking the father disliking the mother. And so some of those things we've carried with us. Or here's one: you're a bastard.
Yeah.
You weren't supposed to be here. Your mother and your father weren't married,
Mm-hmm.
and so you were an accident.
Yeah.
And so we have carried a lot of lies with us. And so I think the journey to healing women's seminar helps
Yeah.
to deal with some of those lies.
Yeah. And we talk about a lot of great stuff in there. Body shaming.
Yeah.
We talk about just learning to cope, so rest, and what that does for our bodies. I want for you to check it out. If you have not checked out the Journey to Healing Women's Seminar yet, it is right there on our website. I want to encourage you to go take a look at it. See if, as you're checking it out, this is something that you think might change your life or the life of somebody you know.
Right. It would be really good to do it with your partner also.
Yeah.
All right. I'm excited about tonight. We had
Yes,
Christine on before.
Yes, we have.
And Christine's life is really inspiring.
Yeah.
What was your favorite story from our last discussion with Christine?
Actually, the one that stands out for me tonight is where she talked about the experience of getting those school fees paid just out of the blue. You know,
I remember
I
that.
can relate. That's probably why it stands out to me. I can relate to that one.
Oh yes, you had that. Yes.
What stood out for you?
What stood out for me is how the traumatic experiences of her life, the deaths, watching her mom go through those really rough things, and how they strengthened her for later in life.
Yeah.
Now, the last time we spoke to Christine, she was actually in the hospital while we were talking. So that's where I'd like to pick up with her tonight.
All right, let's do it.
Let's bring Christine in. There she is. Hi, Chris.
Hi, good evening.
Oh,
Welcome back.
Yes, I'm so happy to be back with you guys tonight.
yeah, so I'm going to ask you how you're doing, but my question is within the context. The last time we were together, we were praying for you because you were in the hospital. Well, it was several months ago, but still, how are you doing within that context?
Well, I'm doing fairly fine. Amidst the circumstances, I'm still not back at work as yet, but I have to give God thanks. You know, um, sometimes we wonder why things delay or things happen, and we might question. But for me, I think everything happens in its appointed time and for its appointed reason. So I'm trying to enjoy the time away and trying to make best use of, although I'm ill, to heal appropriately and not to rush ahead of myself.
Yeah.
You said something that I'd like for us to start exploring. Appointed time. Um, how did you? Because that's a really good coping mechanism, isn't it?
Absolutely.
How did you learn that? How did you accept that? That when things don't happen when we want them to, when things don't happen right away, there is a reason. How did you come to accept, to learn that?
This this is for me. This has been my life. My life is a life of resilience, a life of learning to accept when things don't go your way, recognizing that you may be placed in a position where there's nothing you can do. You just have to work with what you have, deal with it at that time. And in the midst of with it at that time, you have to recognize that, learn the lessons, because many of these situations or circumstances that we're placed in, there are lessons for us to learn. But how we accept the circumstances or the situation that we're placed in will determine the lessons we will learn from these circumstances. So for me, delay, denial, or just the mere fact of waiting and learning how to accept it, for me, it calms me, because it helped me to not think outside of myself, but think within the scope of who I am and say, listen, come on. There's somebody bigger than you who is in control of you. And it doesn't matter what you do or how far you are in life, you are not in control of you. You may get a moment when you feel as if, okay, I have triumphed and I have arrived, or I have reached the ebb, so I am proud. But one thing I love with God is that He used circumstances, He used situation to just garner us back. And it may be something to shake us up. It could be illness, death, just mishaps in life. And He uses them to just, okay, come back here. Come back over here. I think you're going a little too fast. Stop, listen, think. Come on. Do you hear me? I allow the wind to blow. Do you still hear the wind blowing in the trees out there? And when you come to yourself, you say, okay, that happens because God allowed it to. And I will accept it. That allowed maybe because I needed to get some rest. Or that happened because God wanted me to come in contact with somebody that He wanted me to touch their lives in some way. So, but you have to have a connection. And you have to be open to the Holy Spirit's bidding. If you're not, it is very difficult for you to pass this channel. It's like there are walls that you have to climb over. And in order for you to climb over these walls, you have to be able to be humble. Stop, breathe, because sometimes we are so tense. We find it hard to breathe in circumstances or situation. We find it so difficult because maybe life has been going so wonderful for us. And when we just get an immediate stop in the middle of everything that we are doing, we can't handle. A lot of persons cannot handle it. I've learned that the way you handle these kind of situation, it makes you stronger. It gives you more strength to deal with the next trial that will come.
Christina, one of the things that stood out.
Let's say hi to Stacy.
Hey, Stacy, welcome. Christina, a big part of what stood out for me in what you said just now is this idea of connection. And I found myself thinking before connection and after connection. So here's my question for you. Can you think of a pivotal experience that you had that kind of marked the first time that you recognized that you would need to just accept and connect with God and understand that things don't necessarily have to go in the way that I think they should? Can you think of a pivotal experience where you first noticed yourself looking at it differently?
I have so many circumstances and situations, but one of the first thing that has pushed me to this ebb, I should say me becoming a single mom. When I became a single mom and the reality hits home, I was like, okay, what are you going to do? And the Lord directed my path. He was like, yes, you need to get up and you need to go to Oakwood. I mean, just like that. And I said, okay. I told my church family and they were like, you're going to leave and go to Oakwood? Like, yeah. Single mom with a young baby going off to college in a strange land. Something wrong with you? Maybe you're going too fast. Why are you doing the extreme? And I stepped out, and I have no regret today. It was one of the best decisions I could have made at that time that has made me into the woman I am today. Every time I look back or try to look back, I try not to delve too much in the back. Sorry. Um, I said, what would have happened if I had stayed or I didn't listen to? Because when I got the first time the calling to go to Oakwood, I was like, no, you're married, and you was like, let's put that on the back burner. And then when things didn't work out, and I got the second letter from Oakwood, I said, maybe I need to go to this school. And I inquired, and the Lord, when I tell you that the Lord channeled everything, He put everything into operation, like with such great succession. It's like, whew, everything was just working, propelling in the direction that, okay, this is it. And everything worked out perfect. Satan didn't like that. He said, you know what? You think I'm done with you yet? I'm not done. And as you know, when I went, what he did to sort of deter me after I reached Oakwood that hot summer, and with my young baby, I'm in my little car. I drove me and Christian alone. God bless him. Such a good baby. He was such a good baby. And I was stranded there on Oakwood campus in that summer day. I said, God, if you're still the God that I know, you're going to intervene. And He did. Today I rejoice. I thank Him. I thank Him for giving me that strength, because I could have said, you know what? I had a mishap here. I come all the way from Florida to Alabama, don't know anybody, and I'm sitting here on Oakwood campus in my car with a packed car with a young baby. Tell me, what would you do
Yeah.
when the person you're supposed to meet just leave you up and running? You would either want to say, okay, let me try and see how the night work out, and then you go back to where you're coming from. But I said, there is no turning back. I am very determined in finishing what I started. And that was one of the other thing that God propelled in my spirit as I journey. He said, it doesn't matter. You're going to finish what you start. There's no giving up. There's no turning around here. You're going to go and go forward. And even if there's obstacles that comes in your way, or trials or tests that comes in your way, smile. That's another great attribute that He gives me. So I
What a
said,
beautiful smile.
Christine, there's no way you smile the way you smile, as if you have no care in the world. I said, there's a joy deep within that the Lord put into my spirit. And He always said, listen to me. It doesn't matter what you're going through. Keep it, because somebody out there is going through worse than you are. And you never know how your perception of your perception will look for them when they look at you and they say, you're always smiling. Why are you always smiling? Tell me. I said, there's a joy. God is too good
Yeah.
to me for me not to smile.
I have a question, Chris. Most of us, we can look back at the tragedy, at the pain, and we can see. So, for example, you're a single mom, and you see God opens this door for you to go to Oakwood, and you see the different challenges that presents themselves, and you forward to see your tuition get paid. And looking back, you can see the hands of God moving. One of the questions I ask a lot of our guests, and I'd like to ask you tonight, is how do we help someone who is going through those challenges now? So they're not looking, they don't have the standpoint, they don't have the ability to look back and see where God has led them. Where they are now is they're in the fire, they're in the situation. What are some advice that you would give to somebody that's really going through a challenging time right now?
For me, one of the One thing I'd tell somebody who is going through a challenging circumstances or situation is that there's a light at the end of the tunnel. It doesn't matter how bad, it doesn't matter how dark it is. If you're willing to keep pressing through, there is a light. You may not be able to see it because the situation or circumstances, the tears that you may be crying is overpowering. You can't even see out of your eyes. There is a light at the end of the tunnel. But guess what? In order for you to see that light, you have to keep pressing. You just gotta, you cannot stop and say, you know what, I'm gonna stand up right here. I'm not gonna move. Because life is just hopeless. All is lost for me. Take a look at the duck. Take a look at the lily that is growing in that muck, and see how the beauty of it. When you look at it, you say, did it really grow in that muck? No, you can be that lily. Always use something to help you say, okay, if that flowers can grow, or that roses can grow and it has thorn and looks so beautiful, I can be beautiful too. And be kind. What happened? You don't be hostile to people who are going through circumstances or situation. You have to be willing to let go of yourself, because humanly, we always want to, okay, hype up myself. Listen, hear me now. Listen, may I go through this and may I go through that. But listen, there's no way out of this. No, humble yourself. And when you get over, as you said, don't forget where you're coming from. Help somebody along the way. Help somebody, encourage somebody. Say, listen, I remember one semester when my school fee was supposed to be paid. And we were on campus. You know, it's every semester it's a charade out there. It's like crazy. Like kids are running around figuring how they're gonna pay their school fee. And I was walking on the campus and I was like, Lord, how is my school fee gonna pay? Like, who I did the Letty pay it, I did whatever, and no school fee to pay. And I was walking, you know, on the campus, and all out of the blue, this lady, I call her my mom now. She's very nice. They're all the way in California. And she came and she said, are you okay? I think I was either crying or something. You know, there was some tears, and she come and she hold me. You never know who God is going to put in your path. You understand? You must always be ready. Always be ready for what is to come. Because some people, because they're going through situation, they tend to put up a barrier. No barrier, man. Leave yourself open, because God sometimes bring the certainty out of the uncertain situation, fulfill his design and his desire. And that lady pulled me aside and he said, Christy, oh, you're my daughter. Emery Starks, her name was. And she said, you're my daughter in the same nursing program. I said, yes. And she said, oh my, I realize you guys not clear and stuff, but come here, let me pray with you. And that lady, it doesn't have to be monetary gain. She pulled me aside on the corridor and she prayed with me. And what joy that brings. So for me, giving back is what I do. For me, I know where I've gone. I know what I've gone through. I've known how God has blessed me. And there is no means. So I do my little project every now and again. I'll see authors write books. And I say, okay, I still have a case of books there to bring to Oakwood. And I said, okay, you know what? I'm going to invest in Oakwood. So I go back, I buy some of these books and I bring it down there. I did a presentation with some of the nursing students, a couple of the nursing students, and I gave it back. And for me, that it doesn't take a lot to do good. But for some persons, it may be a lot because of the heart that you do it with. Okay.
I want to push and push you a little bit to Kamala with this. It's and Stacey says it also. You know, when we look back, it's good, but what Stacey's saying is sometimes we can't see it. That light that you're talking about, that hope. How do you get that hope across to someone who just can't see it in that moment?
I wonder if a
Show
good
it
way
to
to
them.
start, a good way to start answering that question, Christine, is because I've been thinking about this as you were talking. One of the things that you're describing in your own experience is an experience that's really common to a lot of people. There are many people who are single mothers, and that experience on its own comes with its own set of challenges. There, just to throw some things out there that I'm thinking about, sometimes feeling overwhelmed by the fact that I am the only one who is responsible. Sometimes maybe it's that feeling of loneliness. So what are some of the things that you feel like other single mothers can identify with that were challenges? And then to answer Stacey's questions, what are some practical things that you feel like
Brought you
steps that
through.
they could take to bring them through, and steps that you took to bring you through?
I remember it takes a community to do anything. I mean, I have to be grateful for the community of Oakwood, because when I go there as a single mom and alone, no family member in Huntsville. So look at me, single mom, young baby, no family in Huntsville, in a strange land. Don't know anybody there, don't know what is going to happen more than I'm going to college. Um, I had to make friends with people. I did not withhold Christian from the crowd. My son was set loose. Like, I mean, there was not a student on that campus that didn't hold Christian. Because for me, that was my community where I could thrive in. Everybody take their part, play their part in whatever way they could. Some would come and say, Miss Christine, I can keep Christian for you, just out of the blues. They see me walking on campus. Oh, you need anything? Oh, what can we do for you, Miss Christine? My son was running the hall of the campus like, the president called him Mr. President because everybody knows him there. So it takes a community, and it takes resilience, it takes strength within yourself. You looking outside of yourself to ask for help. Don't be afraid to ask for help. You understand? Because I know I couldn't do it on my own. I mean, I'm a mother, the first time mom. I don't know nothing about being a parent on my own. That's something I was looking forward to. But it happened. But at the same time, I had to go into second gear and say, listen, we got to have a strategy here. College nursing is no joke. I'm going to have classes that I need to go to that sometimes my son cannot go to. I'm going to need a support. I open myself to receive the support that is around me. Some may be nice, some may not be nice, but at the same time, I still open myself, and I was very grateful. And so don't be afraid to ask for help in the midst of your situation, because sometimes people looking in don't know what you're experiencing. Only you have that internal pain that you're troubling with. And for them to know, some people are able to discern, have a good discerning spirit too. Some people are able to discern from afar and say, something is not so right with this young lady. Let me see how best I can help. Did she eat? She looked very distant in class. She looked very like something is bothering her mind, because some people are able to discern from afar and see that something's wrong. So who aren't able to see from afar, you can express and ask for the help. Some people, because of what they're going through, they don't want to ask for no help. They just can't give up. Life is just so hard. I just can't make it. And they throw in the towel. That's how your discerning spirit come in to be able to help. There were people on campus, just see me and my son. My car broke down over there shortly after we went there. I had no vehicle to drive back and forth to school. And in the midst of everything, God just sent a couple. And they came and they carried me back and forth to school every morning. Sometimes I pinch myself. I say, God, these people are so nice. They would wake me up in the morning. Christine, get ready I'm coming for you for school. And I was so grateful. But at the same time, it shows that God, Holy Spirit work. And he still has angels out there. Because I didn't know these people. And after the work was done that they were supposed to do, they just disappear out of my life.
I love it. I love
They
it.
literally disappear. Like, I couldn't tell you where they are now. But I thank God.
I love it.
God.
A few things that I heard there, Kamal, that I want to well, that you want to.
We've got a comment on the two comments that came, actually a couple of comments that came up.
Dr. Haye.
Dr. Hay, sharing your personal experience with them. That's what I think that was her answer to the question that Stacey originally posed. That's how we make it practical. Hilbert Glenn commented, when you put God first and let him lead, and when you have a determination to reach your goal, I think God will open the way for you. And I think that was a response to what you were saying. And then be the help the persons need.
So I heard a few things in what Chris was saying, Mommy.
Mhm.
I heard number one, you need community.
Mhm.
And so this when we are going through challenging times, when we're going through very rough times, I also heard her say it's not time to climb into myself.
Mhm.
And so it is going to take some work. It's not there's no magic wand to
Mhm.
wave for us to feel better, for us to be better. And whenever time that's happening, we're having some clinical issues where we're going through highs and lows. But if we're going through struggles, it's going to take some work on our part
Mhm.
to make sure we're a part of community. Then I heard her say we need to ask for help.
Yeah.
For many of us, we're you know, our pride does not allow us to reach out to other people. And Christine made a great point. She said, you know, people can't know what's going on with us unless we share it.
Mhm.
And some people don't want to be nosy. They don't want to be up in other people's business.
Mhm.
So we have a responsibility on ours. It's on us. One, to make sure we form community.
Mhm.
The Bible says if you're gonna have a friend, you have to show yourself friendly. And so even though you have to step out of your comfort zone. And then two, we have to let down that we have to ask for help.
Yeah.
We have to ask for help. I do have, go ahead.
No, I just wanted to comment on that before you asked that question, because I was thinking a lot about what Christine said about asking for help.
Mhm.
And I thought that was probably one of the most practical things, but really minimized things
Mhm.
that we talk about.
Mhm.
You mentioned the idea of people being too proud to ask for help. I was also thinking about it from the perspective of that's how we've been socialized.
Mhm.
As adults, we're supposed to be independent creatures,
Mhm.
able to do anything,
Mhm.
able to go our own way, able to figure things out. So sometimes there's a lot of shame in
Mhm.
asking for help
Mhm.
because it creates this feeling of I should have to ask for help. I should have it together, which is not really I
Realistic.
think true thought.
Yeah. So
Man is
Christine,
an island. I don't cut you, but
No.
no man is an island. No man stands alone. We
Yeah.
how
all
did
need
you
each
learn
other
that?
to survive. We need each other to survive.
Right.
There's some, there's a reason why God don't give us all our potential at the same time.
Right.
Because we all need each other. My
Right.
mother would normally say, one hand wash the other.
Mhm.
You understand? You do for me, I do for you. And you never know, we make the world a happy place to live in.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
that's how we develop a community. You
Yes.
understand? If I have a piece of bread, if I have a loaf of bread here, and my neighbor don't have any bread, it is behooving.
Yes.
But although we live in a society where this is not the norm anymore, but it behooving that you'd have gone and shared liquor with your neighbor. I have some rice, extra rice. I don't know. I know things has been rationed these days, or will be getting more rational out there. I have some peas. You maybe can make some stew peas. And the neighbor, in her kindness, can say, you know what? I have a little sugar you can use to make some tea. These are the society we have. But because of the pangs of things that are about to come upon us, there are a lot of this is where we're going to need our neighbor. But if you've never been neighbor, you have people that live next to people, their neighbor for years, and then never say good morning.
Mhm.
Because what?
Chris,
I'm not going to be sick and need any help over here.
Mhm.
Chris, what I was going to ask you is what Stacy just asked.
Mhm.
Sometimes we don't ask for help because we're scared of hearing no. We're scared of the embarrassment that will come with no. How? Because I know you did not hear yes every time. For example, you were left on the campus with your child by yourself, so you didn't hear yes every time. After not hearing yes, how did you deal with, oh man, I don't want to hear no again? How did you approach that?
Wow. There's so many times I haven't heard yes. There are
Mhm.
many times I hear no, no, no. Okay, no, no. But in yourself, in your own humanness, you're gonna feel ashamed. You maybe hate that person because within yourself you said that individual is able to help me and they didn't help me. But sometimes delay is for a reason. Maybe at that appointed time, whatever you needed, you weren't supposed to get it. And maybe that's not the individual God wanted to give you what you were supposed to get. Or maybe He wanted to teach you a simple lesson called patience.
Mm-hmm.
Patience. Because what happened is that, as I said earlier, I could have said, okay, let me just try and sleep out the night here in Huntsville. This girl stood me up. Let me just sleep out the night. And listen, I'm heading back to Fort Lauderdale. I could have done that
Mm-hmm.
because everything was in alignment. I'm supposed to go live with her and everything. I know the rent, I know everything. She know I have a child coming. And you're gonna tell me that you're still doing interview at 6 o'clock at the evening in Huntsville for somebody who has been traveling all day with a child? Come on. That's not even far-fetched for you not to maybe drop you on the child, or you go somewhere and say, let me take me. I'm done with life. Or curse out God and say, God, you really carry me here to make people do me this. Not
Mm-hmm.
that I couldn't go to a college in Fort Lauderdale. I was already going to Broward. You know, what? I had to kick into gear like, okay, breathe. I always try to tell myself, breathe.
Mhm.
Okay, okay. There must be a better way out.
Mm-hmm.
Don't lose hope,
Mhm.
right? Yes, although so I do a lot of self-talk. Where I'm concerned, I do a lot of self-talk, and that has been very therapeutic for me.
Mm-hmm.
So even if I don't talk it out loud, I might be talking it in my mind. I'll be like, okay, Christine, all hope is not lost. Listen, you cannot lose hope. So I'm trying to encourage myself in the midst of my turmoil that I'm
Mm-hmm.
experiencing, in the midst of my nose. I'm like, okay, take a stop, breathe, come, get your mind back together. All right, what? There must be a way out. There must be somebody you can call. There must be all right, what can you do? What do you know how to do? And stuff. And you start to kick into gear because once you start doing that self pity partying on your own
Mm-hmm.
self, then you know what? Listen to me, man. No, the girl said no. When me- um, you know, to ask yourself what you're going to do.
Mm-hmm.
You just give up. A lot of people are like that. And sometimes I wouldn't say they don't have a backbone, but sometimes they don't even know how to lift themselves from that mire. Thank
Mm-hmm.
God that I know who God is, our new God, because we see that in a society where we live in, there are a lot of people who don't know God, or even some who know God, still can't even lift themselves out of a mire. And remember some of the nice promises that God said He will not leave you nor forsake you.
Yeah.
Your bread and water will be sure. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Don't worry. It's not a little feed this, feed me on campus, give me noodle soup, feed Christian, put them in their bed and let him sleep. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
if I had given up, I would have had that luxury on
Mhm.
Oakwood University campus. I would not. It was the best.
Three practical things I've heard you say so far, Christine. Ask for help. Have realistic expectations. Sometimes there will be no's, and have positive self talk.
I want us to talk about, because I know you're gonna go into the positive self talk. But before you get that, I want for us to deal with this no idea of
I
no.
do want to talk about
All
that
right,
some
because
more.
that's a
Yeah.
real issue.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's something that we always talk about is expectations.
Mm-hmm.
It's expectation. Um, and so how, let me ask Christine, and then you could help me. How did you manage your expectations? So, for example, like we said, we're going to get no's. You're going to hear no. And if we expect for someone to say yes, for example, you know, I've been asked, to help to do stuff, and I literally just couldn't help to do stuff. And people would probably think, you know, why hasn't Winston responded? Why hasn't, you know, how did you manage your expectation? And then maybe you could say add to that from a clinical perspective.
Okay, so how I manage my expectation, I left myself open. So if a no come, I'll be able to accept the no. When you leave your hopes high and saying, okay, I have to get a yes answer, and without I'm not even looking at a no, then that's where the trouble lies.
Right.
Because when no come, you won't be able to handle. Your falter, you're gonna crumble. But if you leave yourself open to say, okay, you know, if, or even before you even ask the question, because you know, God give us a spirit of discernment, and he speaks within us. So for instance, I'm home, and I said, okay, I am going to come down to Pastor Taylor and Kamala. I'm going to call him on the phone, and I'm going to say, you know, Pastor Taylor, things are a little rough with me right now. Financially, I've been out of work for a few months, and I need some money to help pay some bills. Okay. At that time, I had that thought about asking you for the money. The Holy Spirit already put it in my mind. Say, okay, so if I say no, if Pastor Taylor said, well, at this time, you know, I just lend somebody some money, you know, I really don't have it. You maybe have to wait until next week, or, you know, at the end of the month. And within your spirit, you're like, the spiritual, because before I come to address you, these are the thoughts that are going through my mind.
Your mind already.
Okay. So you have to brainstorm.
That's
And
nice.
God allow us to brainstorm these things in everything that we do in life.
Role
He
play.
allows us to be able to do a role play. A role play. So we go through it in our mind, and then yeah, we go through it as in a role play in our mind. And when we go out there, for me, when I go out there and somebody said, you know what? No, I'm not able. I'm able to accept that no with a consolation, knowing that, okay, as my mother would always say, when one door don't open, another
That's good.
I
That's good.
really loved how you talked about that, Christine. I won't add a whole lot, but as I was listening to you, I was thinking about what's my thought process when I have the expectation of a yes. And the thought that occurred to me is that my expectation is you should. And you can fill in that you should with whatever you can desire, you can dream of, right? You should be able to say yes because of XYZ. You should be able to help me out because of XYZ. And I sat here thinking to myself, that's where we have to challenge that thought all the way through. Right. Is it absolutely true what I am telling myself about what this other person should or should not do? Right. And most of the time, if we allow ourselves to have that discussion, just like you're saying, have those discussions with ourselves first, then by the time we get to this interaction, we can be open to it because we've thought to ourselves, one, having an expectation of a yes is not realistic. Right. One. Two, knowing that if I don't have an expectation of a yes every time, I have also thought about what are some additional options that I have open to me. So this is not the only avenue I have, because then that you should becomes kind of fear-based, right? If you don't, now I'm in trouble. Right. Right? I'm left to nothing. Right.
And you can find joy in your no's. I don't mean to interrupt you, but you can find joy. You need to find joy in no. Because, I mean, no is gonna come.
Yes.
So you have to develop that attitude to find joy when no comes, and even and rejoice over no's, because sometimes many of these no's are growth. They help you to grow as an individual. They help to build your character. They help to channel you into the adult person that you ought to be. They help you to be able to stand in front of a crowd and say, yes, I was told no, and no did not stop me.
Right.
Yeah.
Because no is not, I'm not going to allow no to stop me.
Right.
Because we can bypass no, but how we allow no to interact or to disturb our coordination is going to determine if we'll be able to stand any at all, even when
Right.
yes come.
Right. And something you just said is that yes, while we want to hear yes, it prevents growth. Because I would have known what to ask for. I would have known how to go about getting it. And I would have gotten it. But when I hear no, then I have to go inside and push further.
Yeah.
That was good. That
I
was
th-
good.
I think that no also teaches us that we both have rights.
Right. Right.
I have a right to say no to things too, because it's
Right.
going to be important for me to be able to do that in my own life, as
Right.
opposed to always saying yes to everything,
Right.
even things that I can't
That's
maintain.
good. That's good.
And then also, it's also remembering that the person on the other end also has a right to their
To say
no,
no.
regardless
Right.
of what their reasons and reasons are.
Right.
And that's important for growth as well.
I want us to talk about self-talk because I think that is so important. Say some more about that and why that is so helpful for you.
Self-talk. Well, it has been my life. I self-talk every situation or circumstances that I am pounced upon. And for me, when I self-talk, it takes that stress, stress away. For me, it's very therapeutic in itself, because what happened, instead of me choosing, and it's a choice, because instead of me choosing to let the trials or the tests or the circumstances bring me down, I self-taught myself and say, okay, Christine, what can you learn from this situation?
Mm-hmm.
For me, I'm a nurse, but I fail my NCLEX. And many persons, they look at me and they're like, you mean you went to nursing school, you graduate and you fail your NCLEX? Me don't run go hide. I don't know one time I fail it. Okay. And they'll be like, you life is not any word for you. I mean, look at all your other batchmates. They graduated and everybody's working. It has been hard because I could have taken the negative talk, the negative look, the negative everything that surrounds me and use it to deter me. But instead, what I do, I talk to myself. I say, Christine, delay is not denial. You failed this time, so guess what? Don't sit down there. You're gonna brush off yourself. Yes, I know it hurts, because you may be driving. I know it hurt. You're hurting inside, and you want to achieve this main goal for your life. But guess what? You're gonna go back to the drawing table. You're gonna brush yourself off and say, okay, I'm gonna try again. You're not gonna throw in the towel. You're gonna try and try till you succeed. Remember, I told you I have to finish what I've started. Okay, by God's grace. And that's one of my pledge, to finish anything I've started, I finish. But in the same stance, you're not gonna just, okay, focus on, okay, I'm just gonna put life on hold and just study NCLEX. No. I said, listen, in the midst of that, Christine, life still goes on. Bills still has to be paid. Your son still need to be taken care of. He still need to be encouraged by your drive and your motivation. Say, okay, mommy failed and mommy didn't give up. always see mommy studying around the table. And although he hurts too, because he'll be like, Mommy, I saw you study so hard. Why you didn't pass? You know, and we go through it. I say, son, in the midst of life, these things will happen. So that's a moment for me to encourage him
Mm-hmm.
that if you fail, and if you fail, and if you fail, that doesn't mean you throw in the towel. Life still
Yes.
continues. And listen how you're going to let life continue. You're going to tell yourself that, okay, tell yourself, your failing self, that listen, this is not going to stop me. It's not going to stop my shine. It's not going to stop this beautiful smile. But listen, I am going to rise above this. And I'm going to get up, I'm going to work, and I'm going to, whatever else I have in the midst of achieving with me passing this NCLEX, I'm going to achieve it.
Yeah.
And that has been my drive. I'm going to go out and I'm going to celebrate and have fun like everybody else is doing. Because in the midst of it, life does not stop to make to pass NCLEX. No, life still goes on, but it's how you accept the circumstances or the situation that is facing you right now will determine the destination in where you will be ending up.
I,
Can we hashtag something before you come in?
yes, Auntie, we have something to hashtag.
Okay, can you please hashtag delay is not denial? Because Christine, I kept repeating that thing in my head because I did not want to forget it. That was such a powerful thing to say. Because we often think that when things are delayed, that's the end of it. Oh, the story is over. This is where I have to park for the rest of my life. And it's just not true. I love that.
Stacy said teaching moments for children, and I'm sorry. Go ahead.
We had a comment right before Stacey's on Hilbert Glen. When you put your trust in God, He will see you through. Even when you don't see the way forward, He'll make the way for you.
And Stacey said teaching moment for kids, and I wanted to highlight that because not just for kids, but even yes, you within your context, Christine, you can say Christian, but there's a whole Brianna is looking at you, Vivian is looking at you. You have a Desmond's looking at you. You have a whole siblings. You have a mother. You have us. You have everybody looking at you. How is Christine dealing with this situation? How is she bouncing back? Because all of us experience failures, and all, like you said earlier, no one is an island, and so we all learn from each other. So I think that was powerful. And then Stacey added to that: are they really failures, or did we just learn another way, or did we? Or do we have to just go in and figure something else? I think that is so powerful. What we say to ourselves, what we call things. I think, which is the point I think Stacey's making there. I think that is so powerful.
Absolutely. This is, Christine, I feel like we're having such an important conversation.
I think this is very important
because expectations, no's, delays, learning patience, learn to bounce back. Unfortunately, it's not something that we do very well in our society.
Because nobody teaches us this stuff.
No.
This is not taught stuff. When you're in a 2-parent home and you get to see this stuff modeled, yes, fine. But there's no class on resilience. There's no class on
resilience is literally taught through being resilient.
Exactly. And learning from the experiences of other people. So I'm so grateful that you shared with us. Stacey said our God is bigger than our circumstances. In self-talk, Christine, I want to go back to something you said way earlier that I hadn't had an opportunity to jump in on yet. And you said be kind. Now, I think you were saying that, we should be kind to other people. But I want to go back to talk about your self-talk again. How have you been kind to yourself? How did you practice? So in other words, did you find yourself saying, why was I so foolish to come to Oakwood? Did you find yourself saying, living in regret and beating up on yourself? Or were you able to say, you're doing good, you're doing great, Christine? How was that for
you? Just self-talking for me, as I said, it helps me to take, it's like therapy. So it helped me to take a chance by myself to sit back and said, you know what, pat myself on the shoulder
Okay.
and said, you know what, as bad as things been or seem to have been, you're doing perfectly. You're doing good. You're doing good. And we have to be our biggest cheerleader. If it doesn't start with us, then society can take us and fling us everywhere they want to fling us. But we have to be willing to cheer ourselves on. And me talking to myself and encouraging myself amidst life's trials and tests or whatever, or treating myself. I treat myself. I make it a point of my duty. I don't have big financial gain, but I make it a point of my duty. I said, come, Christian, every so often we go out and we sit and we dine together as mother and son. We just have each other. I have other family members surrounding me. You understand? But at the same time, I want to to um for my son to inherit something that will make him into the man that he ought to be in the society that he is about to enter in. He's already there, but he's not fully there yet because he's still under my gloves. I want him to be able to look, when he look back, he can say, you know what? My mom was a fighter and she never stopped. What? Amidst, so you know what my son said to me? Let me give you an instance what my son said to me. So I'm a new homeowner.
Hey,
Oh,
congratulations.
listen, I don't have a license yet as a nurse, but I'm a new homeowner.
Hello.
Where do you ever
That's
see
what I wanted.
where do you ever see something like that happen in the history of the history? You understand? Because the expectation is that you go to college, you graduate with a nursing degree, you're supposed to pass your board, and you're gonna work to buy a house or buy your car or whatever. But today I'm a living example of what it takes, not just not just something like, okay, somebody hand me down something. It takes resilience, it takes fighting power, not of my own strength, but knowing who God is and that He is my biggest cheerleader. He's carrying me on, He's propelling me. He said, listen, girl, no weapon formed against you can fast. He said, listen, failure is not it. But listen, as much as it might fail, listen, don't give up. Keep running, keep pressing at it, keep trying. And if one thing don't work out, the other thing will work out. Just keep your hand meddling into stuff because God is going to utilize yourself. Don't just sit down and say, sure, I'm so tired of these books. I'm telling you, I'm tired of it a lot. But listen, man, and it's the book me have to study in order to pass so I can be better into life. No, I'll go and work as a tech. That's what I do at the hospital. I work as a tech, but I work with the passion that God gives me. I go in there not showing off. I'm going there to represent the God Almighty that I serve. And I'm going to touch lives in extraordinary ways. I'm going to touch people and treat them with the passion that God wants me to treat them with. So when they see me, they're like, "Oh my gosh, I love you. That girl is the best around here. Where you get her from?" When my coworkers come in the morning, they said, "You know what they said to me? There is no way you just finish a 12-hour shift and you so happy. You're tired and feel like," but because of the mindset that I have and the mindset that I go in and the passion that I have in what I do, God do extraordinary.
Yes.
He blesses me. And what I gain, I don't just keep it for myself. So as I said, I would buy books and I said, let me give back to my alma mater. And let me go there and encourage these kids and tell them, say, listen, not because you fail, life ends. You understand? You have people who pass and they don't come back and say, you know what, let me help who is behind. Why?
I want to point out something that you said, and we only have, oh man, all the time is gone. But I want to point out something that you said that I think is very important that had come and slipped and it came back again. Just because this thing is happening right now, just because I didn't pass an exam, does not mean that I died, does not mean that I no longer have a son, does not mean that I can't smile. This is just one thing in my life that has
One
happened,
thing. Yes.
but everything else around me is still fine. And I
It's
think so
happening.
often we use one thing, and this is
To
from me more than
determine
anybody else.
everything.
Right. You use this one thing that's not going well to
Make your
be
life a living hell.
right, to just
Christine, you couldn't have said it any better.
to break down the rest of the stuff that's going
And try
on.
to bring others with you too. They make
Right.
they make their own life a living hell and bring others
And
with
so I kind
them.
of sabotage myself. But in reality, there's only one thing that
That's
issue
all
that I'm
you
having.
have.
All right.
Yeah.
Stacy says, "Just remember to pray until something happens." Philida says, everything taught through everything is taught through trials. Faith, trust, honesty, resilience. These are the way to know if you have them through trials. That's right. I would like for us to remember that Pastor Kimon Hines is doing
Create Ideas to Life Challenge.
Ideas to Life Challenge. And we would love for you to visit www.createyourofferchallenge.com. That's www.createyourofferchallenge.com. www.createyourofferchallenge.com. Christine, just like last time,
Yep.
the hour is over.
Just like that.
But we want to say thank you so very much for teaching us about resilience,
Yes.
for teaching us about hope in the darkness. If you're going through a dark time right now, man, people are just committing suicide left, right, and center. My heart goes out every time I think about this 15-year-old kid, pastor's daughter in Atlanta, that drove the car up to the highway, stepped out of the car, and walked out in the traffic. And the note that she left behind was, "I'm sorry for being selfish." And a 14-year-old kid was being bullied in school, and she just they taped her being beaten up, and she just went and killed herself. There's so much of that that's happening right now. If we could learn something tonight, it is somehow be able to believe that there's a light at the end of the tunnel. What you're going through, that challenge you have, it's not permanent. You have to build community.
Yes.
Be around people that like you,
Build
people
community.
that are good to you.
Ask for help.
Ask for help without the expectation that somebody owes you something.
Right.
Because it's not really a no. Nobody wants to hear no. So you're not expecting a no. But you don't have an expectation that someone owes you something. They might not have what it is that you're looking for. Kamala said it earlier, it gives you an ability to think about things in different ways. Christine, I knew that you were going to be inspiring tonight because we were last time. And we're really grateful that you spent the time, you took the time, and you spend the time with us. We're just really, really grateful.
I do have one last thing that really just stands out to me, Christine, from what you said tonight. And it was the idea that we need to be kind to ourselves.
Yes.
In our own thoughts and words. And just to add a little bit to that, not to belabor the time, but I think about what I say to somebody else when they're going through challenges.
Say it to me.
Say it to me too.
That's right. I love it. I love it. Thank you, Christine, for letting us say thank you so much for part 2. We're grateful. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
Hey guys, we'll be back next week. We have Pastor Benjamin Jones with us. We want to talk with him. Hey, Sister Bonner, thank you so much. She said very inspiring. Thank you for being on with us, Sister Bonner. Please give Brother Bonner and O'Dane our love. Pastor Benjamin Jones is on with us next week. He's the president of South Central Conference. I can't wait for us to sit and talk with him, because one of the things what I want for us to talk about is this grief that we're going through as a country, with the killing of Tyre and this war that's happening, and this grief that we're going through. And I think he's a good person to walk us through that.
You can't afford to miss this, guys. Make sure you're here next week, just like you were here this week.
9:00. Thank you. If it's Monday night,
you're with KW Ministries.
Thanks, guys.